What's up, Young E? About to get going in just a minute. All right. Peace to the world. Peace to whomever is tuning in. Want to do a quick video. Yo, I appreciate that. Appreciate that, Young E. Thank you for the cash app, good brother. Um, I wanted to do um something real quick just to kind of flush out some things. So if you're tuning in live or you tune in later on, just bear with me. It's this is kind of like um broadcasting of a thought process or a series of thought processes. Okay. And so the title is Solar Eclipse, which is today is well, early this morning was a solar eclipse in the sign of Gemini. And what else did I title this? I called it Solar Eclipse Gemini Man. Yeah. And the destiny of humanity. Why the word destiny? Because the North Node is in Gemini for one. And, from an evolutionary standpoint, North is considered to be the trajectory, the path to take heading north. The evolutionary path is north. South is supposed to represent the roots, where you've been. And so we have a solar eclipse in Gemini with the North Node in Gemini, and with Mercury in its home domicile of Gemini while retrograde. So as we get going in this, what I'm going to do is backtrack. I'm going to backtrack about 4 months. And we're going to go back to February. What's up, Sirius? Hope you're feeling better, brother. We're going to backtrack to February. Now, here in Texas and in other parts of the country, but especially down here, We had a rough February. Now, if you remember, there was peace, Nene. Gemini in the house. Uh, Happy solar return whenever it arrives. No doubt, serious. We had in February, we had a major astrological happening. It was Saturn squared Uranus at 6 degrees of each the signs that they were in at the time, or that they're still in. I'm sorry. Saturn was at 6 degrees of Aquarius, Uranus 6 degrees of Taurus. Now, we had this crazy snowstorm, the craziest snowstorm I've seen in Texas, and I've been here 19 years. Now, remember that number, 19. It it debilitated Texas. A lot of people were without power. We had one of the most horrific car crashes on, was that I-35? I think it was on 35 where we had that bad wreck. Killed a whole bunch of people. That storm hit around Valentine weekend, okay? The Saturn Uranus square was exact on the 17th. So the energy was there. Saturn, one word for Saturn is structure. And Uranus, one word is suddenty, okay, or sudden happening, okay. So from a structural standpoint, Texas energy grid was debilitated. So we saw a breakdown in structure because of a supposed sudden weather happening. Uranus in Taurus, the sign, an earth sign, and a sign of resources. Resources were very few and far in between. It was kind of nip and tuck there. Okay. So I want to tell you what kind of happened personally during that time. My wife still had to work because of the type of work she does. So we had to figure out, we knew the storm was coming, and we started, when it starts seeing the initial snow come down and it started covering pretty quick, we had to make a decision. Because I'm thinking, okay, I'm not going to put her out there on the ice to drive to work. So we had to make a quick decision. I said, we're going to all have to go to Dallas, and we'll have to get a room so we'll be close to your job. Okay. On the way out there, we're calling hotels. Okay. And I think we were going to try to stay at the embassy. The embassy was full, but it just so happened that it had a room. What's up, Dap? What's up, good brother? It just so happened that they had a room at the Renaissance Hotel. Okay. Now, this is where, and my mind is already, as soon as My wife tell me, well, they got a room at the Renaissance, and we pull up in the parking lot. My mind is already thinking, because I've seen this hotel. If you live in Dallas, you're familiar with the Renaissance. It's a huge hotel, big tower that goes up, skyscraper. So my mind's already thinking Renaissance. That's interesting, and I give you some other numbers, or I give you a number, the first of a series of numbers. Or the second, because I've already given you 19. Okay. Remember, I said this was in 19 years. I've never seen anything like this in Texas. So we arrive, second number I want you to focus in on. The address is 2222 Stemmons Freeway. And it's North Stemmons Freeway. Remember, this is part of the title of this, is the destiny of humanity. North node, it's supposed to represent destiny. 2222, that means those numbers are mirroring each other. 22 mirrors 22. Gemini. North Stemmons Freeway. Okay, but of course at this time I'm not calculating all this. This is hindsight looking back. So we get in there and they put us on the 19th floor. Okay. Now, this is something I want you to we might can argue that this is just coincidental or happenstance. But as I said earlier, this is my 19th year in Texas. So something told me to go back to 2002. The nodes arrive at their original position, or they make a complete cycle through the zodiac every 18 and a half to 19 years. Okay. So I got curious and I said, let me see when the last time we had the North Node in Gemini. It was 2002, 19 years ago. Then the room number they gave us was 1908. It just so happens that in the year 1908, the North Node was in Gemini. Also, Pluto was in Gemini at that time. Now, y'all just bear with me because I'm going to have to dig in my heels here just to explain the significance and the relevance of even mentioning these two. So now we got to go back historically and look at the U.S. in this period, okay? At this time, the U.S. is, and I've mentioned this book before. I've mentioned this book. It's called Quiet. Okay? This book, Quiet. And in the beginning, the author says something that's really struck me. She says, let me find the exact one. She mentions it twice, I think. She's talking about Dale Carnegie. Carnegie's metamorphosis from farm boy to salesman to public speaking icon is also the story of the rise of the extrovert ideal. Carnegie's journey reflected a cultural evolution that reached the tipping point around the turn of the 20th century, which would be 1900. Changing forever who we are and whom we admire. how we act at job interviews and what we look for in an employee, how we court our mates and raise our children. America has shifted from the influential cultural America, had shifted from what the influential cultural historian Warren Sussman called a culture of character to a culture of personality, and opened up a Pandora's box. That's a Pluto word. Pandora's box. Something that was hidden is now open. Pluto, god of the underworld, opened up a Pandora's box of personal anxieties from which we could never quite recover. Anxieties. When you hear the word anxiety, you it immediately speaks to an interaction between the nervous system and the emotions. Okay? Because we normally equate being anxious to being what? Nervous. Well, what sign rules the nervous system? Gemini. What sign follows that rules the emotions? Cancer. Okay? So, in this time frame, just to give you, let me finish because I'm about to go off on a tangent. In the culture of character, the ideal self was serious, disciplined, and honorable. What counted was not so much the impression one made in public as how one behaved in private. The word personality didn't exist in English until the 18th century, and the idea of having a good personality was not widespread until the 20th. Okay, now I just mentioned the sequential order in the zodiac. You have Gemini first, it's the third house, the nervous system, okay? Followed by Cancer in the fourth house, which is emotions, nourishment, okay? In this time period I'm talking about, we have Pluto in Gemini. It entered Gemini in 1884, okay? It stayed in Gemini until I think like 1913 or somewhere around there. 1913, okay? At the same time, we have around mid or fall of that year, the North Node of 1908, the North Node shifts into Gemini, okay? But at the same time, we got to bring in the planet Neptune. Because remember I mentioned Cancer? Neptune was in Cancer. And according to an astrologer named Isabel Hickey, there is a correlation between Neptune and Pluto. And it's through Pluto's higher octave, which is Minerva. See, Pluto has like 3 octaves. The lower octave is Mars. Then there's Pluto, but there's above Pluto is Minerva, which is the final reality of the transformation. Mars is the animalistic urge to move, to do, to act. Pluto is that urge now turned into power to facilitate metamorphosis. Minerva is the actuality of the metamorphosis. It's the butterfly, okay? Neptune dissolves. That's why Neptune rules Pisces. It's the dissolving of the perceived boundaries, okay? For there to be a transformation, the walls that prevent it must be torn down. Neptune. So now we see a correlation between Neptune and Pluto. Pluto is regeneration, transformation. Neptune is the facilitator. because it creates a solvent that breaks down the boundaries. At this time in U.S. history and world history, this is the energy that's permeating. All right. In 19, so let me back up. So when you see this mention of this shift to personality and not so much about what's at the core, but how am I perceived? Okay. We see the anxiety, we see the facade, we see because the facade is the face. Okay. So that's the personality. But by the time we get to the fourth house, the personality has not fully matured. It's still a child. It does not start to reach maturity until the sixth house. When it gets to the sixth house in Virgo, it is now ready to start having interaction with someone else. Okay? So at this point, we're talking about a immaturity that has been put on the forefront and is being celebrated. All right. So at this time, with Pluto in Gemini, there's a regeneration of, because here's another word for Gemini, communication, interaction, because that's what the nerves do in the body. What's up, Straight Panther? The nerves control or regulate communication. So there's a regeneration of how we or humans communicate with each other. They are now communicating through the lens of, dare I say, superficiality. And we see this with the South Node in Sagittarius and the North Node in Gemini. This year, 1908, because Gemini is communication, which is also transportation, because to communicate, you're transporting a message. Well, in this year, Henry Ford comes out with the Model T Ford. 4 days after the North Node shifts into Gemini. The North Node shifted into Gemini on September 23rd. Henry T. Ford comes out with the Model T Ford on 9/27 for $950. The North Node went into Gemini on 9/23, 9/5. He sells his vehicle for 9/5. Now we can say, "Oh, you just grasping for straws," But I read y'all from this book, The Bowl of Heaven, what J.P. Morgan's astrologer said. Basically confirming billionaires use astrology. Okay, millionaires use their brains. So there's an understanding, whether it was tight or loosely, of a trajectory for the world for the next 100 or so years. Now, I don't want to labor on that. I do want to come back to this though. I said that Neptune was in Cancer at that time. Now here's some words just to hang on to. Strong emotional sense of community, responsibility. Now look, I want to tell you some of the names that come out of this generation of Neptune in Cancer, Pluto in Gemini. Okay, I'm gonna give you some names. Some notable figures. One is Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan is born during this time. J. Edgar Hoover is born during this time. Uh, Al Capone is born during this time. George Patton, General George Patton, is born under this energy. Uh, Adolf Hitler is born under this energy. So we go back and say strong emotional sense of community responsibility. Now, obviously, having a strong sense of community and responsibility ain't always positive for everybody because it depends on whose community do you have this camaraderie for. See, all love, all nourishment ain't good for everybody. We see this obviously. So that's just to give some, I'm trying to give some historical backdrop. Okay. Also at this time, um, we have a loose T square between Saturn, building structure, Uranus, seeking freedom, and Neptune, removing walls. Now, listen to what I'm saying again. In 1908, at the time that Henry Ford releases the Model T Ford, we have Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune forming a T square. Okay? That means this. If you don't know astrology, anything about astrology, that means you have something here, something there, and something down here, and you put them together like they form the letter T. Okay? Building structure, Saturn. Seeking freedom, Uranus. Removing walls, Neptune. That was the beginning of globalism. Everything we see now has its seed in this era that I'm talking about. And another one who's born in this era who literally said the words New World Order, George H. Bush. He's a little younger than Reagan. I think he was born in this generation is called the lost gener. No, this is not the lost generation. Yes, the lost generation. He would come a little after in what's called the GI generation. Okay, but they're back to back, same basic window of time. We're talking like 1880 to like 1920 something. Okay, you got two generations in there, but it's just a little overlap. But it's the basic ethos is developing and then materializing between these two generations. Okay. Now, what I did was, I'm just showing you overlaps here, how my mind was working. This is like a Gemini expression, things I was perceiving. Okay. I said, okay, we in room 1908. So I said, okay, I broke it down to 198. And I'm thinking, what's the deal? You know, beyond just the year 19. Oh, just another historical footnote. 1908 is the year that Jack Johnson became the first quote unquote black, Moorish, indigenous heavyweight champion. All right, it's another one. Okay, but if we look at the numerology, 198. Okay, in simple numerology, and this is not gematria, this is simple numerology, okay, where you take the alphabet and you assign number value. What's up, James? You assign number value to the letters, okay? 198 equals arc, ARQ, okay? Because that's the only legible word I could pull out of that combination of numbers. Now, ARQ is the Indo-European root of the word arc, A-R-C, and it means bow and arrow. Now, what sign in the zodiac is the bow and arrow? Let's see if somebody put it in the chat. What sign in the zodiac mimics or looks like, what sign symbol looks like the bow and arrow? Doom, 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 doom. Okay, I guess y'all probably driving or something or working, because I know y'all know the answer. So I'll say it. Sagittarius. Sagittarius. There you go, Sears. Sagittarius. South Node in Sagittarius. North Node in Gemini. The journey, the natural trajectory of Sagittarius, if not anywhere else, is Gemini, to its opposite. Okay? So that was a clue. Then I started thinking, I remember a movie that was on Netflix, or it's not a movie, or yeah, kind of like a movie was on Netflix called Arc, and they spelled it A-R-Q. Now, I don't know how many of y'all seen it, but this is the basic gist of it. It's kind of like the movie is it Groundhog Day? That movie where Tom Cruise keeps living the same day over and over. I think that was the name of it. Well, that might have been another, but I think there have been several movies with this motif of just living the same thing over and over. Well, that's what this is. The arc is this black wheel, and it looks like carbon. Okay, and it spins, and when you got to have these special gloves to touch it and extract the power from it. And so this couple keeps dying over and over, and each time they die, they figure out a little bit more about the plot. Okay, and after they done gone through this thing several times, they finally realize that what's going on is they get close to figuring it out each time, and when they get right to the point where they're about to figure it out, the people bust in and blow their head off. You know what I'm saying? So the art is basically, in some regards, Saturn, because what it represents is it's looping time. It's like I don't know if we can equate it to CERN, but it has it. What's going on is they start to realize that they're losing time, like they're having gaps in time. All right, and it's because of this arc. I started thinking, at the time this snowstorm hit, we had, I think, Venus, Mercury, Jupiter, the sun, and maybe something else was all in Aquarius. Okay. And Saturn were all in Aquarius. Now, the previous stellium is when 3 or more planets are in one sign. The previous stellium in 2020 was Capricorn. Saturn rules, in traditional astrology, rules Capricorn and Aquarius. And so it was like Saturn, at the time of this storm, inserted its wheel from the standpoint of regulating time. Saturn is chronos, chronology, time. And it froze Texas for like a week. Nothing moving. And if it was moving slow. It slowed down time. It prevented forward motion, like this movie Arc. Now I'm tripping. Then okay, I'm like, you just grasping for straws, maybe. Or maybe not. Maybe not. You know what I'm saying? And I start thinking. I've mentioned this several times. Go back to the mannequin challenge. Everybody's on camera all over the world doing this. Not moving, freezing time, freezing their energy, freezing their consciousness. Then we had TD Jakes and all types of celebrities getting on camera with somebody taking a bucket of ice water and dumping them on them. And then all the people start going around and mimicking the same thing. I'm taking the ALS ice bucket challenge. Never once stopping to think, what am I really doing this for? What is ice? Ice is a mechanism to slow down time. When you freeze something, you're stopping it from seasoning. The real meaning of seasoning is to age, okay? Aging with the seasons. So you put something on ice to stop it from seasoning. These are lead ups to 2020 and to the beginning of this year. Then you got the movie Dark City, where the nefarious ones every night go underground and manipulate time, and they're moving people around. And these people are ended up in these different lives or different packages, and they don't even know it. They're not even conscious of the fact that they're not controlling their trajectory. Their consciousness is being steered by something outside of them. Okay? And this is where Gemini Man comes in to play. The movie Gemini Man is Will Smith, right? And it turns out that Will Smith is this marksman, okay? He's getting older. He finally retires. He doesn't know that they've cloned a younger version of him, all right? And of course, he has to end up facing the clone and, and this and that. And that's the whole idea behind the Gemini Man, you versus you. Just a sidebar. Before I was putting this together the other day, I'm in the gym and I'm pondering about this because I got the movie Gemini Man the other day and watched it for the first time. And before I had a chance to watch it, I was just pondering, like, does Gemini Man really have something to do with all right now? I was like, but something tells me I needed that movie, And as I'm in the gym, I see a guy walk by with a shirt that says "You versus you." And that's from a fitness or a life perspective. We think about, the only enemy I have is me. My only competition is me. If I can defeat my own, we think of a positive, but to me, I saw it as confirmation that I needed to watch this movie, Gemini Man. Now, in the movie, we get the focus is on cloning. The nefarious villain clones a version of Will Smith. Okay. But we've all heard about the cloning. But I don't think that was the actual deeper meaning of the movie. Because the movie starts out with Will Smith. They're showing him being traumatized by being uh, almost drowning as a child. Okay. Now, that was something I wanted to say about that. About understanding. Oh, I'll get to that. I'll get to that. What I want you to know about that, when they showed that, they were giving you an astrological foreshadowing, in my humble opinion, because the water represented Pisces. Because as he got older, he had to, he gained greater understanding. That's what Pisces is. Pisces is understanding. Why? Because Pisces rules the feet, and your feet stand under you. Pisces is the 12th sign of the zodiac. Well, you have taken in all the data. What's up, Wise Feminine? Hey, shoot me an email about, the your you asked me about doing an audio book. Pisces dissolves the information from the previous 11 houses, and then dissolving it creates a solution. Salute means to dissolve. Okay, so we already see there's a crisis of understanding in the movie. So if you take a little bit of, I'm gonna give you a little astrological tidbit. Mercury, is not considered to function well in Pisces. Okay, so if Mercury is in Pisces, it's like you have an electrical malfunction. It's like back in the day, we were told, don't have a radio by the tub while you're taking a bath, because if it falls in, you get electrocuted. Okay, well, Mercury and Uranus could be considered to be the antithesis of the representative of electricity. Okay, Uranus, the higher form. Okay, so Mercury doesn't like to be in Pisces, and I think now Mercury is squaring Neptune, which creates a similar environment of confusion. So if the movie is called Gemini Man, he has his initial crisis is with water. So now I'm thinking Pisces. I'm thinking Neptune. I'm thinking this movie came out in 2019. That's at 19. And what's the key number in the whole fiasco that we're all engulfed in now? 19. I'm building to something. When we were at the place, it's at 22, numbers mirroring each other, Gemini. Stemons, moon, stem, understanding. The word stem comes from star. That's where we get understanding. The legs, understanding. An allusion to Pisces. Okay? Or Neptune. Okay? Now, I went and looked up a little bit on John M. Stemmons. And he was born in the same energy frequency that we're talking about, 1909. That's when he was born. Okay? And he developed the former floodplain of the Trinity River, and he donated the land for Stemmons Freeway. Now, what's interesting is that his father built, let me see, in 1908, his father was involved in something interesting. In 1908, the Trinity River overflowed Commerce Street. Now, all I'm doing is I'm showing you how you don't have to accept none of this, what I'm saying. But I want you to see how this shit is going in my head. I just mentioned Mercury / Gemini, Neptune / Pisces. The motif that's showing you the disharmonious interaction between those two in the movie. Okay, how that's his basic dilemma that he has to overcome. Squares and oppositions are opportunities for growth. Okay, they're opportunities for growth. They are challenges that are presented to open a portal for growth. All right. In 1908, while Pluto is in Gemini and Neptune is in Cancer, electricity, water, we have the Trinity River, water, overflow, Commerce Street. Now, Gemini deals with communication, it deals with the nervous system, it deals with transportation, it deals with commerce. Because commerce is back and forth. Just like the nervous system, it is back and forth. You see the same energy template playing out in this time frame. To me, what it served for was confirmation that, okay, that there's something to all this. Meaning the significance of Gemini. The significance of Gemini. So what I'm getting at is, in the movie Gemini Man, it was not so much about the cloning as it was being able to steer someone through the nervous system. To steer someone through the nervous system. This whole discussion is a part one. Part two comes tomorrow night. If you tune in for the Think Music broadcast, podcast, because we're going to talk about the metaphysics of fitness, which deals with the nervous system. Okay, but for the sake of what we're doing now, the nervous system has sensory perceptors and motor perceptors. Okay, sensory, and it all makes sense astrologically. Sensory would be the second house, which is Taurus, because Taurus is the five senses. Venus, smelling, seeing, tasting, hearing, touching, all the delights that the earth has to offer. Gemini then is the actual electrical information that comes back from sensing. And that electrical information then goes and feeds the emotions. In the movie Gemini Man, the what was it? The villain's name was, I can't remember. I can't remember his name. But the villain says he wanted to create a super soldier who didn't feel fear, who didn't feel love, who didn't feel. What would be another word for something that doesn't feel? A zombie. A zombie. If you can find a way to interface the human nervous system, you can create a source of food and sustenance, and you can remove the normal human tendencies by overriding the nervous system. And why is that so important right now? Why is it so important to override the nervous system right now? Here's a put this book. Seership, Guide to Soul Sight, Pascal Beverly Randolph. I want you just to read, I want to just read something that he says early in the beginning of the book. And I believe clairvoyance to be the birthright of every human being, that all will one day possess it, that children will be born so, and that even now, coarse as we are, some of us, a great percentage of the people, can develop it to a most surprising extent. Now, just I want you to understand when this was written. This was written around the time of a Jupiter. He lived around the time of a Jupiter-Neptune conjunction in Pisces. The word clairvoyance is a very Piscean word, because to see, wouldn't you need for a boundary or boundaries to be removed, walls to be removed? Pisces, Neptune, and an expansion of that site, Jupiter. Next year, 2022, Jupiter and Neptune will conjunct in Pisces. They do this roughly every 166 years. So this is like somebody put 360 earlier in the chat earlier. Okay. We're talking about a 360 degree of where this man was. That energy is permeating the planet. And he was 100, almost 200 years ahead of his time. A true forerunner. I want to read something else he's got in here. And I'm going to reiterate this on the podcast tomorrow, and I'll go in more in depth. He says, remember that physical conditions influence, modify, and determine mental states, whether these be normal or recondite and mysterious. Nor forget that pure blood gives pure power. If your blood is foul with scrofula, which is like a respiratory condition, um, pork fat, rum, venereal, suspended menses by nursing, cold, or perchance pregnancy. Don't attempt clairvoyance till you are free from it. Artists prepare their paints. You must prepare your body. Else no good picture comes, no lucidity follows. Sound lungs, stomach, kidneys, liver, brain, blood, heart, urinary vessels, womb, and pelvic apparatus are not absolute essentials but good preservatives. Above all, the blood must be purified, vacated of its poisons, rheums, and to be toned up to concert pitch if you would enjoy the music of the spheres and know beyond your outer knowing. But there's something else I wanted to. He's something else he mentions. Hold on. Here we go. Clairvoyance is an affair of the air, food, drink, love, passion, light, sleep, health, rest, sunshine, joy, music, labor, exercise, lungs, liver, blood, quite as much as mesmerism and magnetic coma, for all mental operations are physically conditioned. Ladies and gentlemen, the common denominator of all these things is the nervous system. Gemini rules the nervous system, but also the lungs. Can't breathe without the lungs. You cannot taste without nerve activity. You can't swallow without nerve activity. Love even requires nerve activity. It's a communication of an emotion. Passion requires nerve activity. Even if you look on the tree of life, desire and passion, Venus sits across from Mercury, the ruler of Gemini. Light, the sight to perceive, light, nerves. Sleep, can't sleep when your nerves are frayed and anxious. Poor nerve activity contributes to a host of health problems. I mean, we can go on and on. I mean, it's all exercise, enjoyment of music, all nerves. So I was going to call this Get Your House in Order, but I didn't want that to sound preachy, and that's not the intent. But, um, when I talk to the brother Dap, often we talk about these downloads that you get when you get these downloads and it's not about a specific diet. It's not about a specific anything. It's about what download do you get? If you're getting a download, hey, I need to cut out all the beef, or I need to cut out meat, or I got to start exercising. Like, don't consider it to be just superficial, mundane activity. Okay? Don't disregard it because vessel preparation is of the utmost importance. I remember my old man would show me how to cure a pan when I was a little boy. You put the lard in the pan and you put it in the oven and let it bake for a little while, and you cure the pan before you even start to put a cobbler in there and make your apple cobbler. That's an example of vessel preparation. what we always talk about on the phone is that we don't know for sure how this energy permeates the planet, because we can't quite remember, even if we lived at that time when it was on the planet in 1850s, 1840 through 1870 something, when it was really heavy. We don't have full and total recall. We don't have we have glimmers. So we don't quite know how and what to expect from how it hits right now, what it's going to put online for each of us individually, what it will put online for collectively. But if you're getting the download to do something and make some type of change, listen, listen, and take heed. I self-law am master. Put that to work. And I want to say, and it's going to sound, at the risk of sounding religious, who cares? So Dap asked this, kind of like a rhetorical question. If the divine gives you something positive to do, and you get a counter message to do the opposite, is that the devil? Is that Satan? And I was like, well, Satan, from the mythological aspect, is the ruler of the underworld, Hades, Pluto, right? Well, what goes on in the underworld? The seed is tested. Okay. The light would be the intention, the word, the intention is buried in the seed and then buried underground, and it is tested. Pressure is applied to it. There is no direct sunlight. The only light remaining is the light inside the seed. Water comes and floods it. Through all of that, and then you got all these uh, deteriorating chemicals like nitrogen and ammonia. They're all there, where feces has broken down, because soil, sod, is feces. Okay. The only oxygen comes from the worms who are going back and forth through the soil, creating these little pockets for oxygen to come down. And through this pressure, the seed bursts. And whatever was in it, if it was solid, if it was thorough, it comes out and it starts to grow roots in the underworld. If what was encoded in the seed is not of merit, then that seed does not sprout. So the test, if we want to use the idea of Satan or Shaitan or the devil, the underworld is the test. And it's the necessity for the light to come out. The root then forms, and then a stem then starts to grow, and that stem astrologically is Taurus. The trunk, the stem, it grows from the roots and it finally breaks through the surface and it goes on its journey. But we associate the underworld with the word evil. This is just from etymologically. Evil comes from the Sanskrit word upo. That's why we get the word Upanishads. Upa is evil, but evil really means upa, upo, opal, jewel. The jewel comes from the underworld. So if you're getting the download to take action, the counter message is the test to see if you are just full of hot air, or are you willing to go on the journey to sprout the roots, to grow, to feel like you're being torn apart. The North Node is in Gemini. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. If you look at Mercury, Mercury has Taurus on top of it. That's the symbol of Taurus is on top of Mercury. But it's the senses are now elevated above the earth to where it can receive. Okay? But first, the material existence must be prepared because you have a circle with the horns, that's Taurus, okay? It's also the moon, okay, the bowl of reception. Then you have the cross, which is matter. Preparing the vessel is doing the work while down in matter, all that material work, preparing the vessel so that the energy can filter up to the antenna to create better reception. And that's the destiny of those who accept that as their destiny. So that's all I got. I just had to do this just to organize my mind. I just need to do this to organize my mind. And we'll come back tomorrow, tomorrow evening, for the Think Music podcast. And we're going to expound on this. The nervous system and how it impacts us, and simple things that we can do, to prepare the vessel. Now, if you go to, I'm gonna do something real quick. I'm gonna try something. Because I gotta, let's see, share this one. Let's see. Full screen. Now, I want to share some of the things that I offer on my website. You see this first thing here is this is the bundle. Okay. The bundle consists of my book, Internet Running Slow Today. This is, my book, The Lies Behind the Ties. It includes, come on now. It includes The Ultimate Guide to Conscious Manifestation. It includes the 2020 in the World to Come booklet. These are all things you got to sit with. You got to take your time with these things, okay? It includes the etymology, the master key, mysteries of the number 5. We are in a 5-year. So this is a great and very timely learning tool to have. The tree in life. I just mentioned that Taurus represents the trunk. Well, look, take a moment and find and explore how the tree shows us about our existence altogether. Okay. Then here's the esoteric exploration of fire, and it is fire. All of these are fire. Hidden astrological etymology and symbology. All right. These products are all offered as part of the bundle. You go to the home page and you can, this little pop-up will show when my computer decides to, there it is right there, and you can get your bundle right here. Also, if you don't know, I do birth chart readings. Very thorough birth chart readings. Very thorough. I want to read you what I got up here. Simply put, astrology is the language, logos, and science, logi, of the stars, astro. It is well within everyone's grasp to learn the language and science of the stars. Let me highlight that so you can see it. There is a caveat, though. That makes it harder to read. One's basic outlook on life plays a significant role in how he or she interprets the messages, conversations of the stars. It's important for the practitioner to constantly be seeking balance in his or her own life. Otherwise, a great deal of harm can be done when delving into the very delicate cosmic blueprint that each person comes to Earth with. The astrologer you choose to work with should be responsible and possess integrity. This science is sacred and is far more than mere entertainment. Now, this is what I offer: a well-rounded body of knowledge and wisdom that is infused into the birth chart reading, a detailed approach to uncovering the key and sometimes hidden messages in the birth chart, a keen ability to convey complex concepts in layman terms and to make them sensible, a desire for truth, yet the compassion to communicate it in an empowering manner, integrity that allows the client to trust that his or her information is confidential and that his or her privacy is respected, an unbiased approach to probing the details of the birth chart with any prejudice and judgments nullified so that a coherent message can be transmitted. That's what I offer. Okay. Now I have 2 charts that I do. I do a basic birth chart reading. Okay. I also do a 360 reading. Now, the basic birth chart reading, you get to ask up to 4 questions. I give you a detailed explanation of the major points in your birth chart as it pertains to your inquiries, and it's at least a 75-minute live reading via Zoom. And I've yet to be able to get down to just 75 minutes. So you might as well just keep it real. It's going to be about 2 hours. Okay. The 360 reading is like nothing else you will find, because In addition to what's offered above for a basic birth chart reading, you'll receive the following: up to 4 questions answered, a detailed explanation, blah blah blah, a numerological breakdown of your name and birth date to provide greater insight into your life's purpose, who you are, your desires and personality, an etymological breakdown of your given name at birth to peer deeper into your soul contract, a 90-minute live reading via Zoom, and it's going to be longer than that. Just a heads up. Now, if you see this anywhere else, they copied this shit from me. I'm just going. I have to say that, okay? Because ain't nobody else going to give you nothing like that. And here's another thing. I charge what I charge for my readings because my shit is thorough. Everything I do is thorough. Okay? So you go here and you can, I'm going to stop sharing. You can go to mastersofthecosmos.com and you can learn more about what I offer. If you want a birth chart reading, you put in the code CHOSEN, CHOSEN. Put in the code CHOSEN, and you can get a 25% discount off either a normal birth chart reading or 360 reading. All right. The North Node is in Gemini, the destiny of man. Every sign has its more positive and negative aspects. Of course, we're talking about the more positive aspects of Gemini, what we're focusing on, to be able to see everything around you, to perceive, to be a journalist, okay? And it's interesting, Gemini is considered the teacher. So some of y'all may be having a call to teach, and your self-confidence, your self-esteem may not be where it needs to be to accept the calling. It's time for you to reconsider, take a second look at things, because Sagittarius, and I'm gonna close on this. Sagittarius is currently where the South Node is. Sagittarius is the student. Okay. I'm a Sagittarius rising, so I'm a forever student. Okay. But Gemini is the teacher. Okay, I got to do this. I got to read this. This is right on time. And I'm not gonna use the King James version. I want to use the plain, make it plain version. This is, let me see, this is New American Standard, just so the language should be just right to the point. Hebrews 5. For though by this time you ought to be teachers, North Node and Gemini, you have need again for someone to teach you the elementary principles of the oracles of God, and you have come to need milk and not solid food. For everyone who partakes only of milk is not accustomed to the word of righteousness, for he is an infant. But solid food is for the mature, who because of practice have their senses trained to discern good and evil. Yo, on that, I'm going to close. Thank you for your support. Thank you, Young E, for the super chat. I mean the Cash App. Thank you all for tuning in. We ask you please tune in tomorrow night for the Think Music podcast, where we're going to come back and continue this discussion on a more practical level, and your support at Masters of the Cosmos is appreciated. Everybody who's supported and gotten readings and bundles and books and um, that's right, Young E Wordsmith Institution. Y'all be on the lookout for that. The Wordsmith Institution. Shout out to Young E. Um, uh, just some of the people who Serious Biz and Nene, they've supported. I'm just calling out some of the people in the chat who supported Wise Feminine. You know, Brianna, Dap, and everybody. I think God Science came in. What's up to you, good brother? And I think I've acknowledged everybody at some point in the broadcast. And thank y'all for rocking with me. And as always, stay down till you get up. And when you get up, stay down. Peace.